Hello, Virgo. Something's been locked inside someone for months, maybe years. Words they swore they'd never say, feelings they promised themselves they'd bury. Truth they decided was safer left unspoken. And Virgo, what I'm picking up on as I connect with your energy is that lock is breaking. The vault is opening. What they kept hidden is about to pour out. You stopped waiting for this. That's what makes this so significant. You're not sitting around hoping anymore. You released the need to hear it, made peace with never knowing, moved forward without the closure, built a life that doesn't require their confession to be complete. And that's exactly when it's coming. When you finally stopped needing it. There's someone, you know who, or you have a strong suspicion, someone who was in your life and maybe still is peripherally, someone who never quite said what you needed to hear, never admitted how they felt, never explained why they acted the way they did, never apologized for what hurt, never claimed what was obviously there between you. They stayed silent. You eventually stopped asking, stopped wondering, stopped caring, maybe. What's coming through is their silence is about to end. Dramatically. The confession forming in them isn't small, isn't casual. It's everything they've been holding back. Everything they convinced themselves was better left unsaid. Everything they were too scared or too proud or too damaged to express when it might have mattered. Could be an ex, someone who walked away without real explanation, who ended things or let things end without being honest about why, without admitting what they felt, without taking responsibility for their part. You were left with half truths and assumptions, questions that never got answered, wounds that never got properly addressed. They left you in the dark about what was real for them, and that darkness is about to get illuminated. Or someone who stayed a friend when you wanted more, who knew how you felt and never acknowledged it, who kept you close but not close enough, who benefited from your feelings without reciprocating them, or so you thought. What I'm sensing is maybe they were hiding reciprocation. Maybe they felt it too. Maybe the friendship was them trying to stay safe while wanting you in ways they couldn't admit. Could be someone from way back, high school, college, early adulthood. Someone you haven't thought about in years. Someone who's been carrying feelings or regrets or truth about you all this time. And for whatever reason, now is when they're releasing it. Now is when the confession that's been aging in them finally comes out. What they're going to confess, the reading is showing me vulnerability. Real vulnerability, not surface admissions. Deep truth. I loved you. I was wrong. I was scared. You were right about us. I ruined the best thing I had. I think about you constantly. Letting you go was my biggest mistake. Words that cost them something to say, words they've probably rehearsed silently 1,000 times, but never had the courage to speak. They might explain behavior that confused you, why they pulled away when things were getting good, why they acted cold when they felt warm, why they sabotaged what you were building, why they ran when you got close, the reasons behind actions that hurt you, And those reasons might not excuse anything, but they might bring understanding you've been missing, context that finally makes their choices make sense, even if those choices were still wrong. What's coming through is they might want you back or want to try again. The confession might not just be about clearing their conscience, it might be about opening a door, testing whether there's still a chance, seeing if you'd be willing to consider them now, now that they've grown, now that they're ready, now that they understand what they lost and what they want. Inhale. Why now, though? Why is this confession coming now after all this silence? What I'm picking up on is something triggered them, something broke through their defenses. Could be they saw you, ran into you, looked at your social media, saw you with someone else, or looking happy or thriving, and seeing you doing well without them shook something loose. Or they hit a life transition, birthday, breakup, loss, something that made them reflective, made them look at their choices and their regrets, made them realize time is passing and unspoken truth doesn't get lighter with age, it gets heavier. And they're tired of carrying it, tired of pretending, tired of living with the lie of their own indifference. What the reading is revealing is they might have tried to move on, tried to replace you, dated other people, um, built other connections, and nothing measured up. No one felt like you felt. No one made them feel what you made them feel. And that comparison, that inability to find what they had with you anywhere else, is driving this confession. They're coming back because they finally realize you were irreplaceable. How it's arriving, the confession itself could be a long message, something they type out over hours or days. Delete and rewrite multiple times, finally send at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. when their defenses are down and their courage is up. You'll wake up to paragraphs, to everything they've been holding, to vulnerability you never saw from them before. Raw and unfiltered and impossible to misunderstand could be in person if circumstances allow a conversation that starts one way and ends up somewhere completely different, where they mean to keep it light and can't, where the truth just comes out, spills out, can't be contained anymore. And suddenly you're hearing things you never expected to hear, standing there processing revelations you thought you'd never receive. Could be through someone else, initially, a mutual friend mentioning something. You know, they never got over you, right? They talk about you all the time. Secondhand information that plants a seed that makes you wonder, and then the direct confession follows. Once they know they've been talking about you, the floodgates open, the pretense drops, the full truth comes out. What you're going to feel when this hits, when the confession you thought would never come actually arrives. Virgo, the reading is showing me layers of emotion, not one simple feeling, multiple feelings all at once, some contradictory, all valid, vindication probably. You weren't crazy. What you sensed was real. The connection you felt was mutual. Your intuition wasn't lying when it told you something was there. They did feel it, they just couldn't admit it, couldn't show it, but it was there. You were right. That's going to feel good to know, but also anger, maybe. Why now? Why not then? Why make me wonder? Why make me doubt myself? Why make me feel like I was imagining things or wanting something that wasn't real? Why let me walk away thinking I was alone in what I felt? Why was their ego or their fear or their pride more important than honesty? That anger is fair. That anger makes sense. Sadness, too, for what could have been if they'd just been brave sooner, if they'd just been honest when it mattered. You could have had something real, something good, but they wasted it, wasted the timing, wasted the potential, and now you're hearing the confession years too late. When it can't undo the hurt, can't give back the time, can't create the relationship that died before it had a chance to live, and maybe nothing or something close to nothing because you've moved on, because this confession that would have shattered you a year ago barely touches you now, because you're in a different place, different headspace, different life, and their truth, while interesting, doesn't have the power to change anything, doesn't move you, doesn't matter enough to disrupt the peace you've built. What to do with it? The confession when it comes. Virgo, you don't owe them anything. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, not even a kind response if kindness doesn't feel authentic. Their decision to finally be honest doesn't obligate you to anything. They're unburdening themselves. That's for them. What you do with that information is entirely for you. You could thank them and move on. Simple, clean. I appreciate you telling me. I'm glad to know the truth. And then continue your life without them in it. The confession gave you closure, gave you understanding. But understanding doesn't equal reunion. You can be grateful for honesty while still choosing distance. You could explore what's possible. If part of you is curious, if part of you wonders whether time and growth have changed them, whether a second chance could work, people do evolve, circumstances do shift. What wasn't possible before becomes possible now sometimes. You're allowed to be open to that possibility without being naive about it. Or you could protect what you've built. Recognize that someone who couldn't be honest when it cost nothing probably can't be trusted now that it costs everything. Recognize that you deserve someone who doesn't need distance and loss to find courage. Recognize that their confession, while validating, doesn't change the fact that they weren't there when you needed them. And choose yourself, choose your peace, choose the life you've built without them. That's not cruelty, that's wisdom. What the energy wants you to understand. This is coming, Virgo. The confession, the words you thought you'd never hear are forming right now, gathering momentum, getting ready to be released. Soon, very soon, days or weeks, not months. The person holding them can't hold them much longer. The pressure is too much. The need to speak is too strong. And when those words reach you, remember something. You survived without them, without the confession, without the truth, without the validation. You built yourself back up, found your footing, created happiness that doesn't depend on them finally being honest. You're whole, you're strong, you're clear. Their confession doesn't complete you, you completed yourself. So receive it with that knowledge, with the strength of someone who doesn't need it, with the wisdom of someone who's already healed, with the clarity of someone who knows their worth. Let it inform you, but don't let it control you. Let it be interesting, but not determinative. Let it be honest, but not manipulative. The confession is theirs to give. What you do with it is yours to decide. And whatever you decide will be right because you know yourself, Virgo. You always have.